I don't have any groups or anything, but I'm going to ask, we can't tell if we've invited either Joe Pruitt or Sean Gaither from the E911 to be with us tonight. If there was any questions on their budget, if they're on, if they could let me know if they're on. If not, we'll just leave it in its regular spot on the agenda.
I'm on here, Mayor. Joe Pruitt.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
I'm here as well, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Sean. So since you all are on, let's go ahead and go to that so we don't tie those two fine gentlemen up all evening. Let's go to their budget and see if there's any questions. And Sean, you or Joe want to just give us any overview of how this fiscal year compares to last year, et cetera? Anything you want to highlight, that's fine with me.
The only thing, Mayor, that we saw in the budget going into the next fiscal year was we had a slight increase in the phone budget. We had to raise that up because the cost from Louisville Metro, who we piggyback off of, their cost for the Annie and Alley has gone up. So that automatically passes down to us as well. So we had to budget that a little bit higher than normal. But other than that, everything else in the budget, Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, looks to be in line as opposed to the last couple, 2-3 years.
Yeah, it looks pretty flat with that one raise on the telephone. Nothing really jumps out to me. I would ask the council if they've got any questions of either Sean or Joe.
I don't have anything, Mayor. Everything looks pretty straightforward to me and flat, as you said. So no questions here.
Then if we don't have any questions, then I would ask if we could have a motion to approve the E911 Central Dispatch budget for fiscal year 22.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilman Dones. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor Egan.
Second by Councilman Shekels. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion's carried. Thank you, Joe and Sean. Sorry to tie you up, but didn't tie you up too long.
No problem, Judge, or Mayor.
No problem.
Right.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks,
Sean.
Joe.
All right, we'll go on and stay with the regular agenda going forward now. Jessica's got a change order on the Public Works building.
Yes, this is change order number 5. And as you can see, there's kind of just 2 items we're really addressing here. One was a discrepancy on the plan for some elevation height differences that were indicating 12 foot on a few plan sheets and 10 feet on another, which in turn resulted in not being enough metal ordered in the original bid package. It was going off of a 10-foot dimension versus a 12. So that is strictly that $1,800 is just the straight through price of the additional material overhead requirements to make up that discrepancy, that error on the plans. The other item is in relationship to the jib crane that was called out for the plans. So once we got into shop drawings and looking at elevations and how we were going to mount the jib crane, in clearances, there was 2 different, the jib crane that was in the original package was kind of a standard angle arm type mount that had a much lower clearance than we realized, because again, there was not a cut sheet that showed what those dimensions were at the time, on the original plan. It just called out for a jib crane and a certain model number. And then when we got into looking and they were having to make these decisions for the actual metal building itself, because depending on how that was going to be anchored, that would result in either changing the footer on how we're going to form and mount the jib crane, or if it was going to be done to the post, and how those reactions were all going to create. shorten this down, the jib crane necessary to create more clearance so that we can utilize the crane for maintenance activities resulted in about $4,689 in just straight additional cost in order to be a cantilever type jib crane to get a little more more clearance. So as you see, this is just kind of spelled out with overhead, and it's only showing up as a total $703.35 in the change order, because again, that's one of those direct cost purchase orders items that the city of Bardstown is purchasing directly. So we're able to save that tax on that material, on that item. And since we've not actually written a check and paid for that item, it'll just be one check, one process. So that's what's in there. And I believe you can follow behind that change order request and see the explanation that was provided by Key's architect as well. If anybody has any questions, if you want some more technical answers, I believe Jason Herod with BCD is on the Zoom call for tonight's meeting. If you have any more specific questions, if I've muddled that up too much.
So the total of the two items then is 25, 24, 54. Is that correct?
That's the total change to BCD's contract. There's an additional, if you see that revised cost from the DPO attached, there's $4,689 additional cost also on top of that $2,500 to the city. And that's again, straight change in the crane itself, material cost.
And that's direct to us, not on anything with BCD.
Right, not BCD's contract.
All right. Any questions then? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I'm good for now. Go ahead, Bill. Go.
I was gonna ask that 4,689, was that just a discrepancy? It was overlooked, or what was the deal with that, Jessica?
It's just the difference in the original equipment cost of the jib crane that was in the bid package. And then once that submittal came in and those reactions were trying to be created to help, again, you have to mount the crane to something, to either the building post and or it has to be floor mounted into a separate footing. So once those details were trying to be final designed with the reactions of the building, and we actually got the submittal for that, we realized that the clearance was going to be awfully low. You know, we weren't going to be able to use it to lift out some of the heavier engines in some of our bigger equipment. And we wanted to look to see what other options there were. And the same manufacturer, jib crane, with the same lifting capacities, offered a cantilevered mount that gave additional clearance. So it allowed us to use that crane and to have more clearance off the floor. To do the things we needed to do. Again, just one of those things, I think it wasn't quite enough detail in the plans where, again, we were trying to making assumptions that they could be mounted to the building itself. And once the building is the manufacturer was starting to run those calcs on the reactions for the building, that's when this issue kind of came up. We started looking at the submittals and looking at the fine details, and we're like, ooh, I don't think that's going to meet as many of our needs. It's still able to lift the same amount. We were just trying to make sure that we could get vehicles under it, you know, whenever it's not needed.
It would have been done either way, regardless.
Right. Either we did it up front, you know, or otherwise we could have maybe gone a different route, but the building itself would have been taller. There would have been a whole chain reaction of different expenses or different costs. But in the end, I think this is going to provide more use for the city long term.
More bang for your buck.
Yes. More applicable uses.
Okay. Good enough.
We never had a jib crane, so we really weren't sure what to even ask for. So this is kind of our first rodeo.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions of Jessica on either of these items? If not, then I need a motion to approve change order number 5 for the Public Works building on Paget Drive
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Shekels. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
I think that's Councilman Williams. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the bid tab for the Springfield Road Loop connection, Jessica, I think that's still yours.
Yes, this is the 12-inch water main loop that will connect over by Leslie Ballard Road and run and connect to the existing 8-inch line over on Poplar Flat Road and provide better service and reliability and flow to the customers on the east end of our water system. We ended up with 3 bids from 3 contractors, and as you can see, Twin State Utilities out of Mount Herman, Kentucky was the low bidder for $684,400. And I believe there's a recommendation from our design engineer as well to accept Twin State as the low bidder as to award to them.
Jessica, do we have any experience with Twin States?
I personally don't have experience with Twin State. However, Kentucky Engineering Group has had them on multiple projects and felt comfortable that they can do this type of work. This is the kind of job they generally go after and specialize in.
Jessica, I have one question. Usually on this type of bid, we see the other competitive bids and what percentage that they were under or whatever, or that are the other bidders. Is that something that I'm missing on here? Or maybe it is. Okay, I'm sorry. It just didn't come up until then. I didn't see the second page. My apologies.
No problem. No problem.
I got it.
That's a pretty good discrepancy. That's 30%. That's a lot.
It is. I did kind of ask and make sure that they were going to be able to honor their bid. And I think we were told one of the reasons they went after this project so hard is this is the type of work they tend to do. And they were having an immediate need or an opening for some work. So they were pretty hungry and had a thought if we could start this project quickly, which we can, that they could get right on it. And I think their other work wasn't going to be available to start for several months out. So we kind of happened to, our project kind of was good timing for them in order to keep their men and crews working.
Is this about what we expected it to cost, Jessica?
It is. It's in the ballpark of what we had estimated to be. Originally in our budget, I did not have this much money in there when I was creating this budget last year at this time. And part of that was because between the time the budget came through and the time we submitted this plan, we made the decision after doing some additional system modeling that we saw benefit. This was originally designed to be an 8-inch main rather than being a 12. And our in-field investigation to figure out how we were going to make the tie-in over on Leslie Ballard, we found that our record drawings were incorrect. So we thought we had 1,600 feet of 8-inch main before it transitioned to a 4-inch, and that was inaccurate. So we had to install an additional 1,600 feet than originally we had planned for in order to get the same product.
It looks like Twin States had probably purchased their PVC before the prices went up, or I hope they did anyway, because PVC is out of sight. As you can tell by the other bids, their bid on their material is almost half. So they must have. Sorry, go ahead.
Part of it is the rock estimation. I think some of the other contractors, the method at which they were planning to do, handle the rock versus what maybe Twin States method was. I'm not sure exactly how they went out, but I think it was something to do with some of their installation costs with their manpower is part of the reason you see the gap as well. I think, but you're right. There was definitely, we asked some of these questions as well. I
Yeah,
think we've got some
as
pretty
long as they don't
large
come
options.
back and ask for a upcharge on materials, we're okay.
I know. I'm hoping they can honor this bid,
Yeah.
and prices are going to hold from the time they submitted this bid on Thursday until the
Yeah.
time tomorrow morning when we say if the council approves this recommendation, we can get them rolling to lock that price in.
Okay.
So this
Thank
doesn't
you,
really
Jeff.
have a lot to do with it, but where is Mount Hermon, Kentucky anyway?
I'll
Don't
be
know.
It's
honest,
right
I did
out,
not
it's
look
right
that up.
outside, it's right
It's-
outside Tompkinsville.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
in Monroe County. Matter of fact, maybe some of the guys that work for Twin States used to work for Cleary and they went over and undercut them.
Oh,
Mount
I think there's something to
Sheriff.
that. I did hear that several of the folks, some of the folks from Twin State, the people that own Twin State, the people that own Cleary, and then there's another construction company, like all three of those folks used to work for the same construction company, and then they split up and started their own companies. So I do know that the gentleman that owns Twin States has been doing construction for a lot of years.
mhm.
Competition's good for the consumer.
Worked out in our favor at this moment
Yeah.
in time.
And their neighbors.
Heck, well, yes, I think they used to be partners or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jessica.
Any other questions for Jessica on this bid?
Mhm.
And Jessica's recommendation is to award the contract for this project on Springfield Road to Twin States Utilities for $684,400. Get a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
A motion by Councilman Hibbs. Is there a second?
A second, sir.
All right, motion second by Councilman Buckman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Like sign. All right, thank you. Jessica, you want to talk through the easement for Nelson County on their leachate line? I don't think it takes formal action on our part, but we are going to give an easement to the county for their leachate line.
Yes, Mayor, no problem with that. I just wanted to bring this to the council just so that there's record that we've talked about this before. The Nelson County landfill is expanding and they are needing to upgrade their current leachate line that takes leachate discharge from the landfill and pumps it to our wastewater treatment plant. This easement is basically being granted across the property of the water treatment plant. And again, just location of the landfill and then getting back to the sewer plant. I just wanted to bring this to you so that there would be record that the city is authorizing the mayor to grant this easement across the public city property.
And you've got a diagram in there. It kind of shows it going down that old 62 road bed kind of area, or next to our current drive down into the plant area.
It's actually, yes, it's kind of going around the back of the plant. So once you drive into the plant, it's going to be in that valley off to your left that you see kind of beyond our levee. There's kind of that old road. So as you come to approach the water plant, going down the drive, our drive hangs to the right. The old 62 kind of hangs to your left and is just an old road bed. This is kind of at the toe of that slope. This easement is at the toe of the slope, kind of in that valley and going under Buffalo Creek. You know, that's where the spillway of the dam is and turns into the creek. This is kind of in that little valley near that old road bed.
Okay, anyone have any other questions on this easement for the county? Okay, if not, we'll move on then.
You're selling it pretty cheap.
Now, what are we gonna do with all that money?
Perpetually too. Perpetually too.
We'll pay that tipping fee we have to pay them every month for the landfill. That's what we're paying with.
I'm sure they feel the same way when they have to pay our sewer bill, so.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah. That's right. Okay, moving on then to the COAs from the Historic Review Board. I know we've got some recusals this evening. Looks like the first three will not require recusals, but I'm happy that we have our city attorney back with us tonight, Audrey Hayden, and she's going to do us the favor of reading these, the summary of these COAs, and then we'll vote on them as we need to recuse people after we go through all of them.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. There's a whole bunch of them, so I'm going to go through them as quick as we can. COA 2123, Kim Conway, applicant owner, request to add landscaping to the property at 211 West Flagey Street. Recommendation: approval to install the landscaping as proposed in the application. COA 2125, Vital LLC DBA Super Inn, Darshan Patel, applicant owner, request to add landscape curbing to the property at 523 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed curbing with the following conditions. Conditions: the color of the curbing would be a honey stain. COA 2113, Kelsey Hamilton, applicant owner, request to add shutters, to keep shutters that were installed at 218 East Stephen Foster Avenue. Recommendation: approval to have the current shutters rebuilt to match the original shutter design with the following conditions. Conditions: final staff approval of the shutters will be required by the preservation coordinator. COA 2126, Bourbon Capital Brewing, applicant owner, request to add an address stone to the property at 112 West Flagey Avenue. Recommendation: approval to install the address stone with the following conditions. Conditions: each of the and that the established either goes below or before the year 2020. COA 2127, Bourbon Capital Brewing, applicant owner, request to add beer garden tables to the property at 112 West Flagey Avenue. Recommendation: approval to use the proposed tables for spring and summer months with the following conditions. Conditions: the tables will be sanded and made a natural stain color. The final color will be staff approved. COA 2114, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to build the addition as proposed in the application, and it must meet the requirements for planning and zoning. COA 2115, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and doors to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: the doors will be installed as proposed in the application with the following conditions. Conditions: if any doors have to be changed, they will be staff approved. COA 2116, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and a roof to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed roof in the application. COA 2117, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and windows to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the windows as approved with the following conditions. The windows on the original structure will have external grills, and those on the addition may have simulated divided lights. The applicant must submit final drawings of all windows with dimensions, materials, details, and sizes to be approved by the preservation coordinator. COA 2118, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and a foundation to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the foundation as proposed in the application. COA 2119, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and paint to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to paint the house the colors as proposed in the application. COA 2120, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and siding to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the siding as proposed in the application. COA 2121, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and gutters to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the gutters as proposed in the application. COA 2122, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner, request to add an addition and lighting to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the lighting as proposed in the application with the following conditions. Conditions: the final size and placement of the light will be staff approved. COA 2128, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner request to rebuild all the porches and sidewalks at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to install the porches and sidewalks as proposed in the application. COA 2129, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner request to add shutters to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed shutters. COA 2130, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner request to add a pool deck to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to install the pool deck as proposed. COA 2131, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner request to add a pool and landscaping to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed landscaping plan and pool as noted in the application. COA 2132, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner request to add a garage to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed garage with the following conditions. Conditions, the final roof design will be staff approved. COA 2133, Joe Buckman, Chris Dickerson, applicant owner request to reconstruct the driveway to the property at 509 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to install the driveway as proposed in the application. COA 2124, Bardstown Medical Building, Robert Smith, MD, applicant owner, request to do roof work to the property at 201 South 5th Street. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed roof.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. That's a lot. We got 20 of them here. It looks like that the first three, we can all vote on those. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd ask for a motion to approve COAs 21, 23, 25, and 13 as presented, and I don't think there's any conditions on those.
You could do
Make the
21,
motion, Mayor.
24 too. The medical building. The last one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the last
You can
one.
do the last, you can do the last one.
Yeah, COA 21, 24. So we have COA 21, 23, 24, 25, and 13.
I'll make a motion to approve those COAs 23, 25, 13, and 24.
All right. We have a motion by Councilman Buckman. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
All right, we have a second by Councilman Williams. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign? All right, motion's carried. Now, the next two are COA 2126 and 2127. I think that Councilman Dones will have to recuse. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
The only one. All right, so if I could, I need a motion then on COA 2126 and 2127.
I'll make that motion, sir.
They don't have any conditions as well. We have a motion by Councilman Hibbs. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
All right, second by Councilwoman Hart. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. All right, next we have COA 2114 through 2133. And I think Councilman Buckman and Councilwoman Hart need to recuse. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we need a motion then for 2114 through 2133 with those conditions as stipulated.
So move, Mayor.
All right, that was a motion by Councilman Dones. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Shekels. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. All right, thank you all. Thank you, Audrey, for all that reading. That's a lot to go through. All right. Let's go to the next item on our agenda. We got a donation request from the Nelson County Community Clinic. This is through our community development grant program. They have been you can see they has requested for several years now, and we supported them, I think, a year or so ago. And I can't remember if one of the council members is a sponsor. I think Councilman Nones, maybe.
Yes, sir, Mayor. And if I may, I am again proud to sponsor the donation request for the Nelson County Community Clinic. Their mission to help the low income, uninsured, or the underinsured residents in Nelson County is exactly what we in local government should think about when we think about community service. So I'd like to make the motion to approve the $5,000 request for immediate funding assistance.
And as you can see here with the information that our CFO, Aaron Bowes, has supplied us, we have $11,000 in this fiscal year remaining. So we do have the funds available to support this request. So we have a motion then by Councilman Dones. Is there a second?
I'm glad they second that, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilman Hibbs. Is there any discussion? Anyone else have anything to say? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion is carried. Thank you, Councilman Nones, for the request. Okay, minutes are on the next item. Anybody had any corrections or additions to our March 9th minutes? If not, we'll approve them by unanimous consent. And then I'll call on our CFO, Aaron Bowles, we need to formally approve our fiscal year 20 audit. So Aaron, you would like to speak to that, please?
Sure. I hope you guys had time to review the audit from the last meeting. Again, it was a clean audit. So if you guys have any questions on anything you've seen, go ahead and let me know.
Okay. If everybody's had this in their packet from the last meeting and this meeting, so if you've got any questions, you can always call Aaron. I'm sure he can answer them. But we do need a formal motion for approval of the audit as it was presented to us.
So move, Mayor.
We have a motion by Councilman Williams. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Jones. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. The next item is second reading on a minor change to our Simpson Lake ordinance regarding voting and permitting. So this is a second reading. Gary Little, since you did it the first time, would you mind doing it this time as well?
Yes, sir. Let's see here.
Read the summary, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Summary of ordinance number B 2021-03, an ordinance amending and adopting as amended chapter number 91 of the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances for Simpson Lake. The City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky does hereby ordain that Chapter 91, Section 9111 voting permits be amended as follows. Section 9111 voting permits. A, no person or persons shall launch any boat upon the lake without first obtaining an appropriate boat permit from the city, which shall be issued at City Hall during regular business hours. B, fees for permits. Number 1, permits for all boats shall cost Nelson County residents $50 per year and non-residents $100 per year. 2, permits shall include fishing privileges for all occupants. Add, however, a valid Kentucky fishing license is required. Number 3, all Nelson County residents strike over 65 years of age shall be given free boating and fishing privileges. And add, age 65 or older are allowed 1 free boating permit annually. Number 4, all permits shall expire on December 31st of each year and shall be non-transferable. Number 5, licenses will be issued in duplicate and shall be affixed to the outside of the bow area of the boat on both sides in plain view. This summary was certified by Audrey Hayden, City Attorney.
Thank you, Gary. That's the second reading. I'll ask for a motion then to approve it as presented. And if there's any discussion, we'll get into that later. So I need a motion.
I'll make that motion, Mayor, to approve the ordinance.
All right, we have a, Councilwoman Hart has a motion for approval of this change. And then I have a second. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
All right, second by Councilman Shekels. Any other discussion? I think we talked about this the last meeting. It's pretty minor change, but one that was needed just to clear a little more clarity in the intent. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Oh, excuse me. This second reading, we start with, I can see Councilman Buckman. I'll start with him.
Aye.
And then Councilman Hart,
Aye.
Councilman Hibbs,
Aye.
Councilman Dones,
Aye.
Councilman Shekels,
Aye.
and Councilman Williams.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Motion's carried. Second reading. We'll move on then to reports of staff and committees. We've got a little bit of information here from our cemetery committee. So I think, is it Joe and Bill, you all are going to talk about some of this evening?
Well, go ahead, Joe.
Sure. Oh, are we gonna do the mowing bid first, Mayor?
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Okay, as you all know, mowing cemeteries is a 2-year contract. There were several requests that Gary sent out, but we only got 2 bids. And I think the second bid, I'm not sure they understood exactly what they were doing there. And King's Mowing Service actually went up less than 10% over 2 years. So their bid at $1,150 is what we recommend to accept to keep the cemeteries mowed.
All right.
I think everybody's been happy with what they do. They do a nice job, my understanding. So.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Is that a motion then by you to approve this?
Yes, we can call that a motion, sir. Yes.
All right, thank you. We have a motion by Councilman Buckman. Is there a second to approve the mowing contract for 2 years?
I'll second that, Mayor.
All right, second by Councilman Hibbs. This will be the King's mowing service for $1,150. I guess that's per month.
Yes, correct.
Right.
No, it's per mowing.
It's per mowing.
Excuse
Per
me.
mowing.
All right, per mowing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We'd like it to be per month. But,
Yeah.
it's all
expensive.
right. We have a motion then. Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mm-mm.
Motion's carried. All right, thank you. Now we want to talk about the columbarium, which is something we've been on our to-do list for many years now, I think. So I'll let you all continue with that discussion.
Bill, you want me to go ahead with this or?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much the same one we've been talking about, and we had those 3 bids. We had the 3 presentations at our last meeting, and did some background work on it. But you can go ahead, Joe. But what we decided to.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody knows, and I think I need to compliment Gary and Lisa on this. They've done most of the legwork on this columbarium, but this conversation started, you all, actually as far back as 2013 under Barbie Bryant. And part of the reason this hasn't moved forward as quickly, location was one of our biggest stumbling blocks. And our gazebo has kind of got deteriorated over the years. So we've all decided that that's the best place to consider putting a columbarium. Obviously, there's some notes in your packet there showing that, cremations are up over 50% over the country, and we expect that to go a lot higher here in the future too. So anyway, we solicited bids and studied these, And for this 144 niche unit, we felt like that with our research and looking that we probably got as good a deal as we could find with a very reputable company. We are in our budget. We've asked that we get a little in-kind work from Ben and his crew as far as the footers go and the steel to support this, and they've agreed to do that. And I still think we have enough money to be able to go forward with that. It's going to be probably, if we approve this, it's still probably going to be 12 weeks before anything even happens. And could be even getting into next year's budget if we needed a few extra dollars. But and we might need that to landscape it properly. But
well, we had set aside $40,000 in the original budget for it, and we had another $5,000 discretionary money too. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that we could use for some additional work that we needed done, some of the footers and the concrete that we need to do for the foundation on that. So we're within budget range, definitely.
And you know, it's a project that, you know, the city will be reimbursed more than what it cost us over the term of this thing. So it's not like the city taxpayers are laying their money out there and it's gone. So we will recoup this money. It'll obviously take a little while to recoup it. But with our cemetery space dwindling, this could really be advantageous to our cemetery.
Right, and we have put some money aside, and I know in the last several budgets for this, so I think that's why we have it available now to proceed with this project. So does anyone have other questions of Joe or Bill
or Gary
about this?
Yeah. Any
questions about the color or the design or anything like that?
Well, on the next page, there's a pretty much a description of what it's going to look like.
Right.
It's going to be the dark granite on the inside and trimmed in that white marble looking, gray marble on it. So that's pretty much the description. And around the base there, you see, that's where our public works department is going to be able to lay the foundation and the footers there, and maybe we'll do some landscaping around there to make it look a little more attractive. So.
Well, just to add one more thing, we are going to be able to use some of the amenities that are already there. We're probably going to have to upgrade the benches. They're deteriorating a little bit, but hopefully, you know, we'll be able to still keep that meditation area there for people that just want to go up and visit at the cemetery. So I think it's going to be a really, really nice addition to our cemetery.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Lisa and Gary. You all have done a lot of work the last year and a half or so on this project. So I think it's good that we can maybe bring it to a reality. Then I guess we need a motion to approve, I guess it's Cold Springs USA to build our columbarium for their bid of $38,049.
I'll make that motion, Mayor, that we accept the bid of Cold Springs USA for the installation, purchase and installation of our columbarium in the cemetery. $38,049.
All right. We have a motion by Councilman Shekels. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you, Coach Rose. Second by Councilman Williams. Any other discussion?
I'll just have a quick comment, Mayor. I'm glad to see that Kentucky Monument, a local company, made a bid on it. I wish they could have been closer in price so we could have done business with them. But I do appreciate that they made the effort.
Well, the thing about that was, Betty, they buy all their products from Cold Spring. So that's why the discrepancy in the price.
Gotcha.
But they did present Pat Spalding did make he did come make a presentation along with Cold Springs and ICOP too. So and he told us up front that, you know, he buys his stuff from Cold Springs. So you can see you can see the difference there.
Right.
All right, anything else? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion is carried. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
We have a new business. We have a Board of Adjustment appointment for Roy Nall will fill a vacancy through February 28th of 2025. So it's a 3-year term, basically, or excuse me, 4-year term. And you all saw Roy, he's a resident here of Bardstown, longtime employee of Heaven Hill and some other distilleries in the area, a lot of background in maintenance. So this Board of Adjustment appointment is a really good fit for him. And he actually reached out to me about wanting to serve on a local committee or a board. And when this position came open, I contacted Roy and told him about it. And he in turn contacted Jan Johnston, got more complete information on what the appointment, what the job role is and the position is. And he was very happy to accept the appointment, assuming you all vote for Roy to fill this term. So good qualified person, and it's always great to have somebody who wants to serve and knows the ins and outs of construction and that sort of stuff that board deals with.
Mayor, do you know who's leaving that board?
No, I can't remember.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Gary or Lisa might remember.
I can find out.
I think it was Courtney Taylor. Does that sound right, Mayor? Courtney Taylor.
Okay. Well, we have the opening. We have someone who's willing to serve. So
Yep.
I'd like to ask for a motion then to approve Roy Nall to fill that vacancy on the Board of Adjustments.
I would make that motion for Roy Nall.
All right. Thank you, Joe. We have a motion for Councilman Buckman. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Dones. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Any members of the council have anything to bring before the council this evening? All right. We have some cemetery deeds. We've got, excuse me, Valerie Hawkins, 1 grave site, Cynthia Veneto, 1 grave site, and Mahalia Jackson, 2 grave sites. So we can approve them by unanimous consent. All right, thank you. I've only got just a couple of quick things. I meant to mention this at the on the financial report item. As you all have heard, we've noticed that we're going to receive about a little over $2.4 million from the American Rescue Plan. And we'll get half of that probably for the year of 2021, and the other half will come in the year of 2022. So I've asked Aaron and our staff to start working on probably budgeting half of it for this next fiscal year and the other half for the following fiscal year. And as you probably read, the main thing that they are looking for this money to be spent on is water and sewer projects, as well as broadband or internet connectivity around the country, actually. And so we are very involved in all 3 of those areas. So it's probably going to be pretty easy for us to find projects that this money can support. And we're going to look a little deeper, and there might be some other uses where we might find some money available for some other uses, but those are the primary uses that we see for this amount. So we'll be putting that together along with our other budget when we get into that new fiscal year budget work coming the next couple months or so. So I just wanted to give you all an update on where that stood. But the big thing is they're all going to spread the money out over 2 years. So let's try to spread it out over 2 fiscal years, probably the best way to spend it. It's always good, that's good news to get the 2.4 million, but it's always good to hear people go out of their way to tell us what a great job some of our people here at the city are doing. And over the weekend, I think we had 2 or 3 really serious car accidents here in Bardstown and Nelson County. And it just so happened that one was on 150 Springfield Road, just east of McDonald's and the Justice Center in that area. Very serious accident, young mother and her child, and a young child. And the first vehicle on scene that came up on that wreck was a vehicle driven, there were 6 firefighters from Oxford, Michigan, traveling around the Bourbon Trail. And they just happened to be right there when that accident happened. And obviously being first responders, their job roles at home kicked in and they got out and immediately started trying to help with these injured people. And of course, our fire and the local police also showed up, the ambulance as well. And this gentleman, one of the men called me, and he couldn't have been more complimentary of how professional the fire department was, the police were on the scene, and the ambulance. And it was a bit, I understood where he's coming from. He said, it's pretty unusual for a fire department to show up on a scene and have 6 firemen from another district on the scene before they get there from out of town. He said, I thought it might be a little unusual, but he could not say enough about how professional our firefighters were in dealing with them. And actually, they continued to assist on the scene. And so just great news and great work on the part of our fire department and the rest of the first responders who were there. They ended up staying in Bardstown. They had not planned to stay in Bardstown, but they did and had an excellent visit. They said the people, when they went out to get dinner that night and other things, they were very complimentary on our whole city, and they do plan to come back again on the Bourbon Trail. So Chief Madley, I know you'll share that with your team. And then last thing, I got an email from one of our senior citizens, and I won't tell her name or how old she is, but she definitely qualifies as a senior citizen, and was having some internet problems. And she was so complimentary of the service that our IT technicians gave her over the phone to get her internet service restored and back working. And she used her email to email her compliment of how wonderful our IT staff were to work with, particularly over the phone with somebody who's probably not as IT or internet savvy as others. So great job by our IT department in that regard. I'm happy to share that with you all this evening. And the last thing, as most of you know, they've changed the phase 1C. Some of the people who are now eligible under the 1C status of our vaccinations, and Lincoln Trail sent out a press release just to highlight how they're treating it. And I know it might vary somewhat with some of the other sites, like some of the pharmacies and so forth, but 1C includes people 50 and older. It also includes people 18 and older who have medical or behavioral conditions. And then lastly, essential workers 18 years and over who meet the definition of a certain essential worker by the CDC. So Lincoln Trail is continuing to give out vaccines. I know they had one recently over in Marion County, a drive-through, and they'll be having more in all the 6 counties that they serve going forward. And I know locally, there was a story in the paper that a lot of our local pharmacies are now equipped to do that. So I think a lot more people are taking advantage of that. And it's great that we're people want the vaccine are taking advantage of their opportunities. So we hope that continues until such time as we have a developed herd immunity here in Kentucky and we get back to get things back to normal. So that's all I have to report. Does anyone have anything else to bring before the council or any questions? Well, if not, then I'll ask for a motion for adjournment then.
So moved, Mayor.
All right, motion by Councilwoman Hart. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Is that Councilman Buckman?
It is, sir. Yes.
All right. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are